Once again, a pleasant good day to all of my YouTube fans across the globe. It is indeed my pleasure to come to you once again to do a YouTube presentation. It is indeed my pleasure to once again greet you in our customary style. So I, Imo Rameses Bakari, your psychologist and life coach from the magical community of Point Fortin in Trinidad and Tobago, located in the Southern Caribbean. It is my desire to inspire you to rise higher. It is my desire to inspire to perform with distinction. It is my desire to support you in whatever you do in terms of providing guidance and support so that you can become a better human being. And we intend to do this through counseling, through coaching, through writing, through public speaking, through feature speaking, and community development. Because you, yes, you, are deserving of becoming the best possible versions of yourself, and we are prepared to partner with you in 2024 to ensure that this becomes a reality. A motivational word for you today is that now is the time and no other time. Hear me once again. Now is the time and no other time to do what you need to do. Now is the only time, so do it now. We also remind you to support our ongoing courses. For example, the 10-week course entitled The Fundamentals of Psychology, costing $3,800. Our 4-week course entitled The Fundamentals of Public Speaking, costing $1,200 for students and $1,800 for the general public. Our 4-week course entitled Mastering Emotional Intelligence, costing $1,800 for students and $2,500 for the general public. We also encourage you to book a counseling or coaching appointment. We also encourage you to partake in our ongoing CSEC and CAPE program, SCA program. Those of you based in Trinidad and Tobago, we offer those services also. And we also encourage you to buy any of the advertised books. My book, Conversation, costing 100 TT, 45 EC or 15 United States dollars. Tribute to African Civilization, costing 100. Remembering and Understanding C.L.R. James, costing $140. And George Weeks in the Area 1962 to 1987, costing $150. All you need to do is give us a call at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. So my presentation today is entitled, People's Power is Necessary for Citizens Across the World. I repeat the title, People's Power is Necessary for Citizens Across the World. Well, people can exercise their power by bringing their creativity and innovation, tapping into, the collective talents that they possess, resources in the community, and exercise their power. Typically, when we talk about power, we automatically put it in the context of political power, where a lot of power can be wielded, and where the quality of life, for good, bad, or worse, can be determined by those who are in power, whichever part of the world. People do put a lot of faith in politicians, rightly or wrongly, but I'm making the argument here today that all politicians across the globe always talk about acting in the interests of the people. However, oftentimes, people are not high on the agenda when those individuals are elected into office. Oftentimes, they are bothered. Oftentimes, when people lift their voices for any concern in their countries, sometimes they are branded as dissidents. Sometimes when people engage in peaceful protests, they are seriously branded. And if they challenge the status quo, sometimes they are branded as not only dissidents, but as terrorists, etc., etc. So if it is that the language of those who aspire to power is so much in the interests of people, people should have less cause to complain. But obviously, as we look at events across the world, as we reference events that will have taken place here in Trinidad and Tobago, but that was 1937, where in particular ways the call for people's power was strong, the call for better working conditions, the fight for adult suffrage, etc. We have a situation where the people's leader at the time, Chubalira Boss Butler, who was fully supported by the people because of his passion and concern for the development, and who, because of his advocacy, was arrested and jailed. The people, in rising up and showing their discontent with the times that they existed in, were subjected to tear gas, baton, and the guns of the state. 1970 in Trinidad and Tobago, there was a strong call for people's power. There was a strong call for, greater participation of locals in the economy, right? And, those calls were all, calls for, the quest for people's power. Hence you have slogans that let the people decide, etc. And, many of those leaders of the time who were making those calls, who were advocating for that change, were people of African and Indian descent, should have had a fair chance as anyone else, and were denied an opportunity because of the whole structure of the society and because of the efforts of those patriots. Many people, Africans and Indians alike, were able now to occupy positions in banking, in insurance, and the oil sector that they would not have normally been considered for. So the people came out in their numbers. Thousands of people were on the streets. And again, many of those leaders, because of taking up such a noble cause, were repeatedly jailed. Whether it was the leader of NJAC, Makandal Daga, his deputy Kafra Kambon, Ayogoro Ome, George Weeks, Clive Nunez, Winston Sweet, you name them. All of these people were making cries on behalf of the people. The protesters came out, and many of the leaders, they were subjected to what we could say was brutality of the state. We remember Basil Davis, who died at the hands of the bullet of a gun. So I reference those two cases to show that the demands of people's power is always met with a strong response of the state that is sometimes very injurious, sometimes it is fatal, sometimes lives are lost, sometimes people are subjected to incarceration and brutality of different forms. And one of the most recent examples in the world is when we look at the Gen Zs, or what they term the Gen Z generation in Kenya, who really demonstrated, the strength that people galvanizing themselves can demonstrate. In that the famous finance bill that was brought by the William Ruto government that sought to, tax the poor in a way that was just beyond their means. And they took a stand that enough was enough, because the taxation on the poor was so disproportionate to what we consider the elite in the society, that they put their lives on the line through peaceful protests. Listening to some of them, they said people were planted, and that's a typical strategy that is used when these mass movements arise. Sometimes people whose interests are inimical to the progress, sometimes are planted, sometimes who engage in indisciplined action. So they said that they were just protesting using the Kenyan flag in a peaceful manner. And I actually was in a meeting where one person was given a report where they were kidnapped, where the vehicle was outside their premises for hours, and they were kidnapped. Why? For taking a stand, a peaceful stand, in that there should be equity, there should be accountability. And the response of the state, of the Kenyan state, was very strong, in that Up to recently, as many as 59 young lives were taken out, were killed. All right? And many of them were saying, whether they are killed or not, that they are moving forward and that the particular government must actually leave office. So they achieved a lot in the sense that the bill was totally removed. The government is dissolved, now reconstituted, but they are still maintaining their position in terms of accountable government, in terms of a government serving the interests of people that the William Ruto government must put. One of the big challenges when we talk about people's power is that people must not just be considered to be voters in the governance process, but they must be active participants. But for them to be active participants, there must be a change in structures. The requisite institutions must be created to allow them to exercise that power, not only to protest and demand that they participate. I have always argued, just as how within the Westminster model, there must be passage based on the votes in the parliament of various bills. If we give the people power, we can have constituent assemblies who are given a legislative vote that their input must be a part of any major legislation. That is in the context of a Westminster model. But even ideally, the people must be given the opportunity to determine the kind of institutions that they want to operate in their country, and those institutions must be given the legs to stand on. So if it is that those who are in power are ready, truly on behalf of the people, bring them more into the fold and let us have that conversation. There's been a lot of talk in the context of Trinidad and Tobago about constitutional change. But whatever change proposed, whatever exists, it is quite clear that the people are at the low end of the scale. But the people must become central for that to really work in their best interests. From what I have seen so far, being a previous participant in the political process, being a close observer of the political process, people's power is more a slogan than a reality. Let the people across the globe lift your voices, take a stand, organize, sustain what you're doing, be wise, be vigilant, and keep your activism up in a way that will allow those to know you must never be taken for granted. But more than that, let us build the kind of institutions where the people can really benefit. I thank you for listening. I know you will agree with me, and even though you disagree, I'll be quite happy to hear your comments in the comment section. I remind you to continue to support our channel. You can do so by contributing via the YPay and Patreon link. You can do so by partaking in any of our ongoing courses. You can also call us or email us and book a counseling or coaching appointment. All you need to do is to give us a call at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. People's power is essential. Let us fight for it, fight for it, fight for it. Stay tuned until next week, please God, for another powerful presentation. Bye.